Please tell me I'm not the only one that does this to their yarn. Hey everyone, it's Tara. Welcome to A Loop Through a Loop. I'm glad you're here. We've made it to the end of June and I want to share some making with you. I'm going to start with what I'm wearing. This is my second sample of my pattern Dish Tee, made out of Yarn Bee Rapology hues. This colorway is called Sunday Denim. My first sample was made out of April Bouquet, if I remember correctly. This version has flutter sleeves, and my original sample had just straight sleeves. And you can get the pattern now on Ravelry for $3. I have the length of mine where my belly button is because most of the pants I wear now are high rise. And with my pear shape, this length on my body kind of fits best because it's not hitting the widest part of my hips. It's hitting just a little bit above that. And I like the flutter sleeves because it gives my shoulders a little bit more width. So then the width of my shoulders kind of evens out the width of my hips, and I like symmetry. This yarn is a sport weight yarn knit on a US 8 5mm needles, and it goes fairly quickly, and you only use that one size needle. There's no changing. The bottom of the sweater is just in garter. The top of the sweater is in garter. Everything else is stockinette in the round. There is one cable detail on the side, and in the pattern, there's a typical cable pattern detail, and then there's also kind of a different take on a cable. So there are two different detail options. There are two different options for a neckline. You can do an I-cord, or you can do a rolled hem on the neckline. And then there are two options for the sleeves, either just straight or fluttery. Since I knew I was going to be having more fabric around the arms, I didn't want a whole bunch of extra fabric around the chest area. So I cast or bound off a couple more stitches under the arms than what I wrote in the pattern, just to kind of make sure I didn't have so much fabric in there, but either way it'll turn out just fine. And that's what I'm wearing, and we'll kick it into FOs. For the first week of June, I have finished my second This Is Love hat. This is knit in Christy Archer Designs colorway Good Vibrations non-superwash merino wool. Christy is no longer dying, unfortunately, but when I saw this color green, I just had to have it, I guess. I had to have it because I knew what I wanted to do with it. This is, like I said, my second one, and this pattern is now published and available on Ravelry. I used a US size 5 set of needles, and I'm not even a good test knitter for myself because I changed the pattern a little bit. So in the original pattern, you're supposed to do a provisional cast on, knit the top portion of the hat, and then you pick up and you knit the brim. At the end, it provides a little bit more structure around here, and it also gives you more control about how far down you want the hat to come. Well, I have made, this is now the 5th, maybe even the 6th hat that I've made that's like this, and I kind of just already knew how wide I wanted to make the brim, and so I just cast on, did the ribbing, and went straight into the pattern. I'll probably add that part into the pattern for anybody who would want to do that, but I mean, and this came out just fine. I still really like it. The fit is nice and relaxed around my head, but it'll still stay on. I have my original version here, and I'll show you. I feel like folding the brim over. So this one is with the provisional cast on, and then picked up stitches, and then knit the 3x1 twisted rib, and then folded it over and everything like that. And I feel like this is a bit more put together, but both work. I have blocked these, so that's kind of relaxed the lace and relaxed the fit. And so I'll put on my other one. It's hair washing day, so forgive me. This version was knit with, it's Yarn Bee Must Be Merino. It's a DK weight, knit on US 5 needles. And this is in the color chambray. Like I said, I think this folded over brim gives it just a little bit more of a put together look, which I think works really well with this color to be a little more polished. And then this was just fun. This is, Christy did a beautiful job with her yarn. So you can see this is a little more loose around the head. I am playing around with, I have some yarn left over. I haven't weighed it, so I don't know. But I'll tell you that one skein gets you a hat of 100 grams of DK. So then I'm thinking this one, since it's a fun color, I would be interested in doing a pom-pom, but I haven't decided yet. Until then, I'm just gonna hold on to my little beautiful leftovers. And like I said, this pattern is So This Is Love, and it is available now on Ravelry if you are interested. It's the 3rd week of June. I just got back from a couple weeks with the kids back in our hometown in Missouri, and I'm tired. I put some concealer on, but suitcases weren't the only bags I was packing. So before I get into what I finished while I was back home, I do want to just quickly show 2 patterns side by side. So this is the Odile pattern, and this is So This Is Love. This is a 2-for-1 hat pattern. This is a single pattern, a 2-for-1 pattern for $5, single pattern for $3. Somebody had asked me the differences between the 2 hats. If I hold them back, you can kind of just see that overall they look pretty similar, as far as there is a middle motif for both of them. So here's that center motif, and then there is some detailing along the side of that motif. This hat has a little bit more drape to it because I've blocked it. This hat does not have drape to it, as much drape to it, because it has not been blocked. So they both use the same yarn weight and the same needle size, but the motifs and side panel details are different. So I just wanted to touch on that briefly because I had gotten one question about it. And on to what I was able to finish while I was back in Missouri. I tried to be realistic with what I brought as far as my knitting. At first I was like, I'm just gonna bring everything. And then I thought, well, that's stupid. I'm there 2 weeks. Knowing myself as a knitter, what can I get done in 2 weeks? Well, I had one sweater that I've been working on, a summer sweater of my own pattern that I wanted to be able to work on. And then I thought, okay, I can bring one more project, because that other project is something that if I worked on it, I could finish it while I was there. So I brought some of my fingering weight scrap yarn and made Vertices Unite by Stephen West. I'll go through each of the sections and show you the yarn that I used. Some of them, I don't remember their names. And I don't even know that those colorways are made anymore, so there's really no loss there. So in section 1, I used 2 Expression Fiber Arts colors. I know this is called Traditions. I don't remember the name of this one. And I striped these 2 together for section 1. And both of these yarns have silk in them, so they kind of have a nice shine. Everything else is just wool. Section 2, down here, this section 2 is using these 2 colors, striped. I don't remember their names either, but I do know they're Stitched Together Studio. The blue might be called Brain Freeze, and then I don't remember the name of this color. I'll do some digging on my Ravelry pages and try to find the projects that these were used in before this one. And I should have colorways that I can get from that information. And so hopefully I'll update my project page on Ravelry for this project to tell you colorways. I don't know that either of these are still available. I just don't know. For section 3, this is also Stitched Together Studio, striped together. I have Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I think this is called Unicorn Farts, I think. So I striped those together. Then section 4, I just kind of let this yarn talk on its own. This is Spin Cycles Sunset Strip. So there's that. I let it kind of just do its own thing. Section 5, I used the same colors as section 2. And section 6, I used 3 Irish Girls War of the Roses. So this color reminds me of my great-grandmother, and I love this color so much that I just kind of let it do its own thing too. I think on camera it's coming off more turquoise or mint, but in person, like if you were to get mint ice cream, that's what it looks like. It has more green in it than what it looks like from what I can see in the viewfinder. This is not quite as blue. It's a little bit more green. And then for, oh no, I'm missing a ball of yarn. Somewhere is my ball of yarn. For my edging, this was also Expression Fiber Arts, but I don't remember the colorway. But it was a lot darker than the other colors that I was putting together, and so I decided to use that as a border. And I think I'm going to call this my, instead of Vertices Unite, I might go and change the name to say Family Unite, since I was with my family and I got to see a lot of family members while I was there and friends. Family Unite just kind of makes sense. My youngest daughter, who's turning 2 in July, loves this. She wraps blankets around her neck like shawls. That's just how she wears them to go to sleep. And so I wrapped this around her and she wore it around for a little bit, and she, way cooler than I ever was at that age, I think. Now you'll notice I still have ends hanging out, and all my ends are woven in, but I've been watching Andrea Mowry's I'll Knit If I Want To every week, and she had said she weaves everything in and then she'll block it and then she'll snip all the ends off. And I thought, once again, brilliant idea. That's what I'm gonna do. I'll wash and block the shawl, and then I'll trim up the ends and it'll be ready to throw on and wear. I'm very excited about it. I didn't plan any of this, but I feel like it kind of all pretty much goes together. It kind of all goes. The only thing that really stands out is this section 4 right here. It kind of just, boop, surprise. It's like a a little shawl surprise. So here's what I have left. I haven't weighed it, but there's enough here. I can do another kind of smaller scrappy project. Maybe I can make another Vertices Unite, but maybe the smaller one. I don't know, we'll have to see. I had a lot of fun. I missed one. I had a lot of fun just saying, you know what, instead of making pairings that I think will go together, I'm gonna put stuff together that I normally wouldn't have thought of putting it together and then just see what happens. And that's what happened with my section 1. It was kind of just like a surprise. It almost reminded me of like the rag rugs. I don't know what the proper name of them is, but you know, the rags that are kind of just made of scrap, rugs that are made of scrap rags and stuff like that you can find like in kitchens or stuff. That's kind of what it reminded me of. And if you can't choose one color, you might as well have them all. But I think because the tone of the colors is kind of the same, that it just kind of works. I don't know. This was a pleasant surprise. And then everything else I kind of knew, well, I'll be honest, I kind of knew how these two would stripe up because it's similar to my stone crop pullover top, I should say. And then with my section 3, I knew these two would kind of blend in together because the base color of them is both a gray neutral color, but different tones of gray. But I figured at least I could get speckles of all the colors. So that kind of worked out. When I came back from my trip, I had some surprises waiting for me. And so I want to say thank you to Stephanie and Helen for thinking of me and for your generosity and your kindness. And so I wanted to share with you all just a little bit of what's inside this cute little tote bag. I love a good tote bag. Inside from Helen, she got me this Julie Aslin yarn in the color Heart. And it's Julie Aslin Fino. It's merino cashmere and silk. It feels amazing. So what I'm gonna have to do with these skeins of yarn is I want to be very particular about what I choose to knit with them because they are special. So whatever I make with this will be my Helen hat or my Helen cowl or my Helen mittens, whatever I choose to make with it, I'll call it my Helen. Just as in remembrance of her. I think she said she got the same colorway and she's gonna make a Hohi hipster shawl, the light version. And now that I keep looking at it and keep thinking about it, the more I'm like, well, that's actually a very brilliant idea. Please tell me I'm not the only one that does this to their yarn. Like you just squeeze it and hold it to your cheek so you can feel how soft it is. So that's my Helen yarn. And then from Stephanie, in this tote bag, she gifted me the tote bag and some Pearl Soho Cashmere Merino Bloom and Bright Flamingo. This color is happy. I'm thinking this is like a highlighter and I love it. This I think would make a great shawl or sweater, but I'm not sure which one yet. So, and this too. See, I can't help it. Look what I do every time. To the cheek, give it a squeeze, make a noise. And then she also sent along some Pearl Soho linen quill. And obviously this will make a half and half wrap that matches my eyes. I think the Lord up above must have been hearing my prayer because I've been thinking in the back of my mind I wanted something that was my eye color, but I wasn't quite sure that I could find what I was looking for, trying to do it online. And right now, I don't want to say I can't go to an LYS because that's not true. I'm choosing not to go to an LYS because I have 3 small kids and I have plenty to keep me occupied here, that to go into a yarn store right now is not something that I necessarily have to do or need to do. But the Lord hears and he answers. Look at this. Stephanie, how did you know that this would be the color of my eyes that I have been thinking of? This will be my Stephanie wrap. So I'll have a Stephanie wrap, a Stephanie sweater or shawl, or maybe another wrap, and then I'll have my Helen shawl. I was very, very, very appreciative and still am for this. This means a lot to me. I have been consciously and subconsciously praying a lot about knitting, and that I know that this for me is a hobby, and that there are materials that I would like to use but don't necessarily feel like it's the right time for me to be using those materials. And so I am and was just kind of taking in and using whatever I was able to get at the time. And I kind of just had it in the back of my mind that if this is something that I should continue, that God would provide that. If this is something that is ultimately going to be good for me and I'm able to give back eventually some way to do good for others, then God would find a way to make things happen. And so thank you again to Helen and Stephanie. I'll see you at the end of June. Moving into whips, I do have my pink velvet, and I honestly haven't touched this in a few weeks. I mean, I haven't made much progress from the last time I showed you, other than I was able to split for sleeves, and I've knit 2 inches on the body, but really that's it. And I don't really have any opinions or details to add to that. My goal in July is to finish this, and then when we come back and hang out together in July, then I'll kind of tell you what I did and my thoughts about the process of making this. Right now I'm thinking I might do shorter sleeves. I don't know if I want complete full sleeves, and I only have I think I only have 2 skeins of my main body color, and I don't want to buy another skein for the body. I don't want to buy more yarn. I'll have to see what kind of modifications I need to make with the body for that. But other than that, it's literally sat in this bag for 2 or 3 weeks, and I haven't even touched it. The next whip I have is the start of a baby blanket. I'm using the pattern from Pearl Soho. I believe it's called the Bass Relief. I hope that's how it's pronounced, blanket. It's knit on the bias. It's free from Pearl Soho, and this is just where I'm starting. I will insert a picture of the pack of yarn that I got from Hobby Lobby that I'm using to knit this with. So I bought 2 packs, and each pack has 6 skeins of different colors of yarn. So I'm gonna knit through the first pack and increase every row. And then once I use up that first pack, then I'll switch to the second pack and start decreasing. And whatever size the blanket is, that's the size it is. So this is a gift knit. I am keeping track of my progress, actually. This is kind of the first time I've honestly done that. With a stitch marker, you see here, that I got the charm and the hook from Hobby Lobby when I was back home with my niece. We were walking through the aisle. She just wanted to look at everything. So we went through the jewelry section where they had all the charms, and I wasn't gonna buy anything. I didn't need anything anyway. But then I saw this and my heart just kind of stopped, because for as long as I can remember, I've just loved Princess Diana. I was so captivated by her as a young girl, and so I thought, oh my gosh, like that's her ring. That's my Princess Diana stitch marker, and July 1st marks what would have been her 60th birthday. This is something that makes me want to pull this project out and keep working on it, just because I love looking at it, and so there's that. Eventually it's gonna grow so that I can't keep it in this bag anymore, and I'll have to put it in a bigger bag. So that also motivates me to get this other whip done. The blanket that I have been working on for my nephew coming at the end of the year has been knit and frogged a few times. At first, I was going to do the Easy Puzzle Blanket by Purl Soho, and then I decided, no, I don't want to do that. I'll do the half and half triangles pattern. No, I'm not going to do that. And in between, like when I thought I was going to do the half and half triangles, I started on a 3. No, I don't like it on a 3. Try it on a 5. No, I don't like it on a 5. And so now finally I'm on a different Purl Soho pattern. This is the same pattern as my previous whip, except that instead of garter stitch in the center, I'm going to do moss stitch. And I only have just started this, so it is just a little bitty triangle. There's not even much to it, you know. But I'm still using the same yarn, but this time I'm holding the 2 yarns together. So I'm using Yarn B 44th Street in Silver Gray and Camel held together. These are marketed as a DK weight on the label, and so held together, I'm using a size US 9 needle, and like I said, I haven't gotten very far on this, so it feels, what little there is, it feels soft and it feels nice. And I think this might actually be the ticket. This might be the jackpot. I don't know. If not, I'll rip it out and do it again, because technically I have till the end of the year. But I need to get this finished because I want this bag for this blanket, because this bag's not going to be able to hold all this once I really get going on it. I am taking a bit of a hiatus from selfish knitting so that I can get some gift knits taken care of. I think it would be probably a good idea for me to start my gift knitting, if I'm going to do any right now, in the middle of summer, so then I give myself enough time that I can kind of play around with what I want to do for the holiday time. Last Christmas, I didn't knit anybody anything, because the Christmas before, I kind of went a little overboard. Like, I made hats and mittens and a cowl, and I was just so excited and so into starting my knitting mojo back up that I just was like, you get a knit, you get a knit, you get a knit. And I think it was more because I enjoyed it and not so much that I was really thinking about who my gifts were intended for. That's why this last year I didn't gift knit anybody anything. And really, I don't talk about my knitting with very many of my loved ones because I realize they don't feel the same way about knitting and yarn. And while they might be really sweet and humor me while I drone on and on about all this amazing things, other fiber enthusiasts get it And I know that most of my family and friends are not that. I kind of just keep things to myself. I mean, this is where I go to just unload all of my excitement and enthusiasm, or just like my heart to heart, kind of what's going on in my making. And then I upload it, and anyone that wants to share in that with me, I invite them to do so. So I think that's everything. That's a random, abrupt stop to say that's everything for June. Coming in July, on July 25th, I'm going to release my blue Christmas pattern as kind of like a Christmas in July kind of a thing. Quite a few of my test knitters have finished up, and their sweaters are beautiful. They've done a great job, and I'm so thankful to them. So keep your eyes peeled. I will post it on Instagram when it's live on Ravelry, so you can check that out. It does come in, it's one pattern written for 2 yarn weights, Aran and fingering. And if you know your knitting math, you can make it work for any weight of yarn. So I think that's everything for this month. And as always, thanks for coming to hang out. I hope that you come back. I always, if I send an email or write to anybody that's a fellow knitter, I always say the same thing. I say best wishes and happy knitting. Bye.